Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of Hillbilly Select Reviews. Who the heck is the man behind the curtain? Well, I mean, I think they know who it is.
It's not even a curtain. It's Bourbon Bobby, John. And here is our host. Here is our host, Mr. Hillbilly Select
Look, folks, the hand never leaves the wrist or something like that. All right.
Yeah, I had a friend that did that. John Blumenshine.
Here we go. Now, listen. We were having a conversation here, sipping on some bourbon.
Just a little.
And we were talking like we always do about bourbon and stuff. And I stopped the conversation and said, we have to make a video on this. So this is how we got the idea for this video. It just kind of popped up. And what we were talking about, I started with Buffalo Trace. But what I think I'm going to name this video is how to make hundreds of variations of bourbon with 6 ingredients. Because to make bourbon, the most ingredients that you ever use, usually 5, and sometimes 6, but never more than 6, or some experimental stuff we won't talk about. So basically 6 ingredients that you can use. Then how do they get hundreds of variations? And we were talking about it, and now we're going to continue the conversation and let you in on it. So the 6 ingredients are water, yeast, corn, rye, wheat, and barley. And usually if it has wheat, it doesn't have barley. If it has wheat, it doesn't have rye. If it has rye, it doesn't have wheat. But sometimes they use all 4 of the grains. But then if there's only 6 ingredients, how are you getting hundreds of variations of bourbon? And Bob, I'm going to let you take that away.
And I wouldn't have believed it 3 or 4 years ago.
Because you'd have thought, what, 6 ingredients and one of them being water.
Yeah,
you can make what, maybe 5?
How many? But what happens is you learn, especially being from Kentucky, especially being in the industry, there's so many variations of corn. There are so many variations of corn. There are some bourbon companies that have proprietary corns specifically for one of their bourbons. Like Buffalo Trace has 3 mash bills, 58 different labels of bourbon, and hundreds of variations of those bourbons. And some of the corn is just used in one of those bourbons. And yeast is another one. There's proprietary yeast strains that are used by bourbon companies for specific brands of their bourbon. So you can have a different corn, a different yeast, a different rye,
a different percentage of all these things.
And then, yes, and then the same ingredients in a different percentage and make 2 different brands. So you can literally, we say 58 brands and hundreds. I'm not sure it couldn't be thousands, John, of different variations.
Well, if you add then, and these aren't ingredients, if you add then the char of the wood, which usually goes from 1 to 4. So there's a variation to go with everything else. If you add how long you age it in a barrel, there's another variation. If you add where it sits in a rick house, as far as how the temperature affects the bourbon going in and out of the wood, you know, as it goes in the summer when it heats up and comes out in the winter and so on, then you're even adding more to the unlimited amount of 51% corn, some above 58% corn, and mixing that all up. Now you're adding the yeast strain, now you're adding the types of corn, the types of wheat, the types of grains, and you're now adding the types of chars and how long you age it and where you age it. Yes, it's almost that.
It's really like DNA and making kids. 2 adults can have.
That's true. Well,
but you just think, well, it's 6 different things. How many can it be?
Well,
but it's literally hundreds to thousands.
How many, if you were to count, how many numbers are there?
It's infinity, yes.
Right, but really, how many are there? If you want to count 0, we will for just shits and giggles. 0,
there's
1, 2, 3, 4,
9
5,
in different
6,
variations.
7, 8, 9, plus 0. And that equals infinity.
Infinity in variations.
So there that explains it.
Exactly. So we're sitting here talking about how we're going to show you how the barrel can affect bourbon, how the yeast can affect bourbon.
The videos and everything.
And we're going to break it down in all these different videos. But we sat here and thought, we need to explain how 6 different.
Yeah, because we were talking about
At
we were
the
starting to amaze
most.
ourselves.
And this is a billions dollar industry, and they have 6 ingredients.
You know what I want to talk about next? That's true. And we were talking about it, and I think, what was it, Buffalo Trace started, and we were saying they had to make 54,
58.
58.
Out of 3.
Right. And then
Bass bills.
And then we started, and then I'm like, well, we need to make a video on this.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you what we need to make a video on too.
Is that Johnny? And I always look a little nervous.
No.
I always look nervous. When Johnny comes up with an idea, I always look nervous.
As far as for Jim.
Yeah.
Why Kentucky is what? What's it known as?
Kentucky. I don't know what it's known as, but I know we coined the phrase.
Yes, and that's what it's known. Well, it's known as on this channel.
But we are the Napa Valley of bourbon.
Yeah, and why?
Because between Lexington, Kentucky, and Louisville, Kentucky, it's maybe 86 miles on the map. Within 20 miles, east or west, or north or south of that line,
80 or 90% of the world.
about 80%, about 95% of the good bourbon is made right here.
And we're going to tell you why in the next video.
And we're going to
tell
do
you
a
why
series.
Kentucky is the Napa Valley of bourbon. What Napa Valley is to wine, Kentucky is to bourbon. What Cuba used to be to cigars. And we're going to tell you why. There's a reason, and it's interesting. And I'm going to shut this off, and then we're going to get a little more bourbon and relax for a minute, and then we're going to tell you the secret of why Kentucky, which where we live, we're blessed to live here, is the Napa Valley of bourbon. Bob, the next video. Right?
By the 4th video in this series, we might not be speaking English.
Wow. Get an interpreter for this.
Johnny, what did we forget?
What?
If you like this video,
Oh.
please go back
You ought to notice by
and
now.
look at this. Look at our series. We've reviewed several bourbons.
It's on a playlist.
Review our playlist, but even more importantly, just give us a subscribe and just tell a friend that likes bourbon, hey, check these guys out.
Yeah.
We don't ask much. Johnny, we go through all this work.
Yeah, all this
for
work
them.
and all this expense.
All this expense.
And what do we ask for? Subscribe.
Subscribe.
All right.
So until the next time.
Let's be here in a minute. We're going to talk about why Kentucky is
No, it's a week, Johnny. It's a minute.
Oh,
to
yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
a week to them.
A week.
Yeah. We got to change shirts and, clean our glasses.
Yeah. All right, everybody. See you in a minute, minute.